The day began like any other, a brilliant blue sky stretching out above a world unaware of the tragedy about to unfold. Thousands of feet above the earth, a Boeing 737 soared through the air, carrying its passengers towards their destinations. Families returning from vacation, businessmen on their way to important meetings, young couples excited about their next adventure, all connected by the shared experience of flight. Then, without warning, the plane vanished from radar screens. Minutes passed, stretching into an eternity of silence. The world held its breath, waiting for news, praying for a miracle. But as the hours ticked by, hope dwindled, replaced by the grim realization that something had gone terribly wrong. Flight 409, bound for Miami from Los Angeles, carried 157 souls on board. It was a routine flight, one of many that crisscrossed the skies every day, connecting people and places, dreams and destinies. Among them were seasoned travelers and first-time flyers, each with their own unique story and purpose for the journey. Some were returning home after long trips, while others were setting off on new adventures. Families were reuniting, business travelers were preparing for important meetings, and solo adventurers were eager to explore new horizons. The atmosphere was a mix of excitement, anticipation, and the usual hustle and bustle of air travel. There was Sarah, a young doctor on her way to a conference excited to present her groundbreaking research. She had spent months preparing for this moment, and her heart was full of hope and ambition. John, a retired teacher, was finally taking the European vacation he'd always dreamed of. He had planned every detail meticulously, eager to immerse himself in the rich history and culture of the continent. And little Emily, just 6 years old, was flying to Disney World with her parents, her eyes bright with anticipation. She clutched her favorite stuffed toy, imagining the magical adventures that awaited her. Each passenger carried their own stories, their hopes and dreams, unaware that their journeys would be cut tragically short. They chatted, laughed, read books, and slept, oblivious to the fate that awaited them. The flight had been routine, the weather clear, until that fateful moment when the plane disappeared from radar, leaving behind nothing but questions and a chilling silence. The sudden loss of contact sent shockwaves through the aviation community, and the world waited with bated breath for answers that would take time to unravel. Captain Mark Thompson, a veteran pilot with years of experience, sat at the helm of Flight 409. Known for his calm demeanor and meticulous attention to detail, Thompson had an impeccable safety record. Colleagues described him as a consummate professional, dedicated to his job and the well-being of his passengers. He was a family man with a wife and 2 young children eagerly awaiting his return. What could have driven such a man to such a desperate act? Was it a sudden medical emergency, a catastrophic mechanical failure, or something more sinister lurking beneath the surface? As investigators delved into Thompson's background, they hoped to uncover the truth behind the tragedy. The recovery of the black boxes, those unyielding witnesses to the final moments of Flight 409, offered a glimmer of hope in the darkness. These devices, designed to withstand the most catastrophic of crashes, are the silent sentinels of aviation, capturing every detail of a flight's journey. They are built to endure extreme conditions, from intense heat to crushing pressure, ensuring that the truth is preserved no matter the circumstances. Extracted from the wreckage, the black boxes held the key to understanding what transpired in the cockpit before the crash. These devices, comprising the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder, are crucial in piecing together the events leading up to an accident. The cockpit voice recorder captures every sound in the cockpit, from conversations between the pilots to the hum of the engines, while the flight data recorder logs technical details such as altitude, speed, and control settings. As investigators carefully analyzed the data, a chilling narrative began to emerge. The process of decoding the information is meticulous and requires a high level of expertise. Every second of the recordings is scrutinized, every anomaly is noted, and every piece of data is cross-referenced to build a comprehensive picture of the flight's final moments. The cockpit voice recorder revealed a calm and collected Captain Thompson, his voice betraying no signs of distress or panic. Then, a sudden change. The tone of the conversation shifted abruptly, hinting at an unexpected development. The once routine flight had taken a sinister turn, and the recordings were the first clue. A series of strange clicks followed by the co-pilot's startled question, "Mark, what are you doing?" Silence. The tension in the cockpit was palpable. Even through the recordings, the co-pilot's voice, filled with confusion and concern, added to the growing sense of unease. What had prompted such a reaction? The answer lay in the subsequent sounds captured by the recorder, then the chilling sound of the plane's engines being deliberately shut down, followed by the co-pilot's desperate pleas. The gravity of the situation became clear. The deliberate actions taken in the cockpit were not the result of a mechanical failure or an external threat, but a conscious decision made by someone in control. The data from the flight data recorder corroborated the voice recordings, painting a picture of a plane deliberately steered off course, its descent controlled and intentional. The flight data recorder's logs provided a detailed account of the plane's trajectory, confirming that the descent was not accidental, but a calculated maneuver. The evidence was undeniable. Captain Thompson had deliberately crashed Flight 409. The findings were a stark reminder of the potential for human error and malice in aviation. The investigators, faced with the grim reality of their discovery, knew that their work would have far-reaching implications for the industry and for the families of those who had perished. In the wake of the tragedy, the airline operating Flight 409 faced intense scrutiny. Was this a tragic, isolated incident, or were there systemic issues that contributed to the disaster? As investigators dug deeper into the airline's history, a troubling pattern emerged. Reports of near misses, maintenance issues, and pilot fatigue pointed to a company that had prioritized profits over safety. Cost-cutting measures had led to overworked and underpaid staff, while aging aircraft were kept in service longer than they should have been. Whistleblowers who had raised concerns were silenced, their warnings ignored. The crash of Flight 409 was not just a human tragedy, it was a corporate failure, the consequences of which were catastrophic. The crash of Flight 409 sent shockwaves around the world. Families were left devastated, their lives shattered by the loss of loved ones. The grief was palpable, a heavy weight pressing down on the hearts of those left behind. Anger, too, simmered beneath the surface. How could this have happened? Who was responsible for this senseless tragedy? Calls for justice rang out, demanding accountability and a thorough investigation. The public wanted answers, reassurance that such a tragedy would never happen again. But as the initial shock subsided, a long and painful process of healing lay ahead. In the aftermath of the tragedy, the families of the victims faced the daunting task of rebuilding their lives. Haunted by the loss of their loved ones, they struggled to come to terms with the senselessness of it all. Support groups offered a space for shared grief and understanding, while therapy provided tools to navigate the overwhelming emotions. Some found solace in faith, while others sought meaning in activism, working tirelessly to improve airline safety and prevent future tragedies. The road to recovery was long and arduous, marked by both pain and resilience. Through it all, the families of Flight 409 clung to the memories of their loved ones, their love a beacon of light in the darkness. The crash of Flight 409 served as a stark reminder of the importance of airline safety. It was a tragic event that shook the aviation industry to its core, highlighting vulnerabilities that had been overlooked or underestimated. The immediate aftermath saw a flurry of activity as investigators worked tirelessly to determine the cause of the crash, while families and communities mourned the loss of their loved ones. In the aftermath of the tragedy, governments and regulatory bodies around the world implemented stricter safety regulations, increased oversight of airlines, and invested in new technologies to prevent similar incidents from occurring. These measures included more rigorous aircraft maintenance checks, enhanced pilot training programs, and the development of advanced safety systems designed to detect and mitigate potential hazards before they could lead to disaster. Airlines were held accountable for their safety records, with fines and penalties levied against those who failed to meet the highest standards. This accountability extended beyond financial penalties, as airlines were also required to publicly disclose their safety records, fostering a culture of transparency and responsibility within the industry. The aviation industry underwent a period of introspection, with a renewed focus on safety culture, pilot training, and mental health support. Pilots received more comprehensive training that emphasized not only technical skills but also decision-making and stress management. Mental health support systems were strengthened to ensure that pilots and crew members had access to the resources they needed to perform their duties safely and effectively. While nothing could bring back the lives lost on that fateful day, the lessons learned from the tragedy had the potential to save countless lives in the future. the aviation community came together to honor the memory of the victims by committing to a safer and more resilient industry. Through continuous improvement and unwavering dedication to safety, the legacy of Flight 409 would be one of progress and hope. Years after the crash of Flight 409, the memories of those lost continue to live on. Their stories serve as a reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing every moment. Memorials stand as testaments to their lives, places of remembrance and reflection. The crash of Flight 409 was a tragedy that shook the world, exposing the human cost of corporate greed and the devastating consequences of neglecting safety. But it also highlighted the resilience of the human spirit, the power of community, and the unwavering pursuit of justice. And so, we remember the victims, honor their memories, and strive to create a world where such tragedies are never repeated.